Let's try to dissect this new policy from China. We have joining us tonight via Zoom Chester Cabalza. He's founder and president of the Manila-based think tank International Development and Security Cooperation. Good to have you back on the show, Chester. Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening, Ms. Sean and Ms. Regina. Thanks for having me in your program.
Chester, this is a plot twist. We can call it that, right? Most of the media in the Philippines only found out about this through an article that was published on the South China Morning Post. But upon further investigation, we found that Article 257 of the document says the Chinese Coast Guard will now be allowed to detain foreigners suspected of violating entry and exit rules, persons found to be assisting others to illegally exit and enter Chinese territory, and persons having illegal residence and employment. So it's pretty all-encompassing. What did you think of it?
Well, this is a reaction to the successful flotilla of our civilian forces in the Scarborough Shoal. And it shows China's preposterous movement right now. It's a question of, are they afraid of our people power? Is this a tactic to intimidate us also? Remember, they are so afraid if they see a number or a wave of civilians protesting their party and their government. In their history, we've seen the Tiananmen incident. If they keep on pushing on this new law, they will have to struggle with the people power of the Filipinos, and they might see another Tiananmen incident at sea, this time in the West Philippine Sea. So I think they have to rethink of this new law because this is contrary to the international law and to the 2016 Hague ruling, where it says there that the Filipino fishers have the sovereignty rights to use our exclusive economic zone. Bajo de Masinloc is within the 200 nautical miles of the Philippines. So this is contrary to what they're trying to do because they are scared and feared that they will see more civilian missions coming from the Philippines because they knew that our fisher folks are brave and courageous. They were not able to contain the last mission that the Filipinos have shown to them, despite the number of Coast Guard vessels shadowing them. And they don't want, they think that this is their means to cover their fears right now. So I guess this is plain reaction to what they saw in the recent incident in the Scarborough Shoal.
But Chester, China does not recognize the 2016 arbitral ruling at all. So how would that fact figure into all of this in terms of enforcement? Do we actually expect that this will be enforced?
Okay, let's look back into history because they're telling a lie. In 2012, the reason why we caught their illegal fishers, the Chinese illegal fishers, because of their illegal activities in the Scarborough Shoal. The Philippine Navy at the time was enforcing our domestic laws because of their intrusion, incursions, and illegal fishing in our maritime territory. What did they do? They told that they will leave the Scarborough Shoal together with our naval vessel, and they used the art of deception. Instead of leaving together with our naval vessel, they stayed there. And for 8 years now, they've been controlling the Scarborough Shoal. Remember, we were just enforcing our domestic law. And now they are bending this story. They want to use another domestic law on their part, which in the first place, the Philippines was the first one to use that domestic law. So this is unfair. And it's not acceptable to the international community. And then in 2013, we filed against a case against them in the International Court. And they cannot accept the result of the decision in 2016 because the International Court and the international community favored to our prayers, which is one, that the nine dash line of China was invalidated. Secondly, the court decided that the Filipinos have the exclusive right to exploit and explore all the resources in our maritime entitlements. And now, they're trying to steal Scarborough Shoal from us. And the only way for them to scare us is to enact another domestic law, which they think is fair on their national interest. And this is totally absurd because they will be using a domestic law inside our territory. So this is really unfair, and the world should know this because we have to go back in the recent history in 2012. It was the Philippines who use and, of course, enforce our own domestic laws, and they tried to bend it. Now they're bending it again by enforcing their own domestic law on us. That is unfair.
It's almost akin to the basic security law in Hong Kong, which has been used to detain, activists and journalists. But there is a line there in their new directive that says they are allowed to detain individuals endangering national security and interests, which again is pretty expansive. What can diplomats, what can the DFA do at this point to counter this?
I would suggest that our government will have to protest on it and elevate this new domestic law of China to the international courts, because there will be contestation of domestic laws. We have been using our own domestic laws in our own territory, and this would invalidate also the kind of domestic law that China wishes to enforce on us, when in fact they have not been recognizing international law and the international decision on the 2016 Hague ruling. What kind of country is this? What kind of country is China? Is China above the international law? That is not acceptable. The mere fact that you have international laws is to ensure maritime rules-based norms. And for them to ensure their own for that matter, without due process, is an authoritarian process. That is not acceptable in a democratic due process which we uphold, and that is against the international law where due process is recognized. You cannot just detain a trespasser for in his or her own territory. We cannot accept that. That's the reason why we urge our government, once China implements that, it has to protest and elevate it to the international court. The strength of the Philippines is lawfare. We've been building on that kind of narrative since 2016. And we have to use that tool and mechanism to inform China that we are a bearer of international law and rules-based order. They cannot just unilaterally enforce a domestic law that would just favor their interests because they are scared of the Philippines, because they saw civilians swarming and encircling them. And that is, they are scared because they do not know how to control civilians. Imagine more than 100 flotilla regatta boats coming from the Philippines encircling them. They do not know what to do. They cannot even use violence because they thought that if they use violence, they know that there will be miscalculation that will happen. So their only recourse right now is to use lawfare also that would suit their best interests because they are afraid of what the Philippines has shown to them recently.
Right, but Chester, like you said, if our recourse is, and if it really is the right time to file another case, it's going to be unilateral again. And won't it just end up, or what if it just ends up the same as the 2016 ruling where it is there, but they refuse to recognize it? And then what else can we do?
I think this is different from 2016 because the Philippines has gained the respect of the international community. Remember, in the recent Balita exercises, you have 40 countries observing us. And then you have the support of the US, Australia, Japan, and France. They want Tokyo and Paris would want to have also a visiting forces with us because the US and Australia have the same version with us already. And we have gained the respect of the international community. That means that we are stronger in our diplomatic networks right now, and we are a champion of international rules-based norms. They believe in us. Unlike in 2016, we were the first one to raise the arbitral award, and at the time, even ASEAN does not even believe in us, and now you have 40 plus countries believing in us. So that's a different scenario. Secondly, if we raise that now to the international court, and the world has seen already these injustices of China towards us because they do not recognize our triumph in the international law, and now they want to instigate and enforce their own domestic law, then that is not acceptable because you have the international law that is above the domestic law. And you cannot just enforce it based on your interest. You have to remember that the South China Sea issue is a multilateral, unilateral issue. There are many claimant countries here. It's not only China that is claiming here. It's not only between the Philippines and China. You have other countries. That's the reason why we keep on urging other countries to 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 pressure also China to obey international laws. And now they would want to dictate their own domestic law on us. That is unfair. This is inside our internal waters, inside our exclusive economic zone. This is below the belt already. We cannot just accept that as it is. Once they enforce it by June, I'm sure that the Filipino people will react, and I'm sure that the Filipino people will move for the people power. I mean, I think this is a call for everyone to ensure our maritime entitlements in these contested, disputed waters, which we know that the Scarborough Shoal since 18th century, the Panakot Shoal has been part of different maps around the world. That means that it has been there. Their historical claims has been invalidated by the international court, and they're trying to steal the Scarborough Shoal from the Philippines since 2012. So we cannot just afford this to happen. And the government and the army, the Philippine armed forces have recently launched a comprehensive archipelagic defense concept, which means that they have to protect all the maritime entitlements from Luzon to Mindanao. That includes the Scarborough Shoal and all the claims of the Philippines in the West Philippine Sea. So this is now a whole of society approach on how we will engage with China with all these false narratives and with all this intimidation that they're trying to push on us using lawfare, which in the first place, the Philippines has been using it since 2016.
Right, Chester, on that note, you mentioned the ASEAN. Recently, I think the foreign ministers of Vietnam and Malaysia have both spoken out, kind of like disapproving on what the Philippine side has been doing in terms of the disputed waters. Do you think the ASEAN will support if ever we do escalate or elevate this case of the new ruling for the Chinese Coast Guard? Will they, side with us on this issue?
ASEAN is polarized and divided right now. Unfortunately, we cannot rely with ASEAN because they do not want to understand us because of our saga with China right now. We could understand the de-risking, the balancing act, the hedging strategy that they are doing right now between the superpowers. And they have to take care of their economy. in the equation right now, it's the Philippines that is trying to contest our sovereign rights because we've been voicing around our rights in the West Philippine Sea. Remember, in 2013, we went to ASEAN. We were trying to internationalize our cause, but ASEAN was not listening to us. That's the reason why we were pressured to elevate it to the International Court in the United Nations. And it just so happened that the world was so objective in our case, and we won a landmark case in 2016. That's the reason why in the 40 observer countries, in the recent Balita exercises, very few ASEAN countries were observing us, mostly coming from European, Oceanic, and some Northeast Asian countries. So I hope that ASEAN will wake up that there is one country, one neighbor asking for support from them. I hope that they would listen, because right now we see the power play of superpowers in our region right now.
Right.
We are divided. That's a
Right.
reality. We cannot bring it up to ASEAN, this case right now, because of the division of ASEAN.
Yeah. And then lastly, Chester, I am reminded that it's May. It is the 7th anniversary of the bilateral consultation mechanism, which was founded in the time of former President Duterte. And the whole point of the BCM was that both sides would have a way to come together and, cooperate practically on issues of the South China Sea. Last I heard, the last meeting that we heard about was back in January. Since then, tensions have escalated. There have been many run-ins out in the sea. Do you think it's even still working, this bilateral consultation mechanism?
Yeah, I agree that we have to foster the confidence building mechanisms of the different parties. We've been trying different formula or mechanisms on how to resolve this issue peacefully. We started with the 2002 DOC. Up to now, we do not have yet the code of conduct in the South China Sea because China is interfering, although China is also a stakeholder in the South China Sea. And they've been asking for a bilateral talk, which we gave to them in the past administration. But it seems like our wishes and aspirations for the resolution of this conundrum, of this problem in the South China Sea, has not yet achieved. Remember also in 2021, they activated the China Coast Guard, where they empowered the CCG, which is part of their military. And that's the reason why they keep on harassing our Philippine Coast Guard, which is a civilian white ship, and also the civilian flotilla that we have here. With this new law, we are expecting, I know that China will bite its teeth. They will try to intimidate us. If they will force it by June, I hope that we will be ready to show the signature people power of the Philippines, so that China will also learn from the courage of the Filipinos. I hope that we will not be afraid of this new law. We will continue with our mission to fight for our sovereignty rights in the West Philippine Sea. So I hope that our government will also respond properly to this kind of intimidation that China is using in terms of their lawfare.
Fair enough. And we will leave that there for tonight. Thanks so much for your insight. Security analyst Chester Cabalza. He's the founder and president of the International Development and Security Cooperation.